A billionaire lost in his lonely world watches a humble waitress crawl under a diner table to make his son laugh, and in that unexpected moment, everything begins to change. Ethan R. Caldwell stood in front of the tall windows of his penthouse apartment, holding a warm cup of black coffee in his hand. The city buzzed below him like a machine that never stopped working. Cars, people, noise, all moving without rest, just like his own life. He was one of the richest men in New York City, a tech billionaire who had built a global empire from his college dorm. His company had changed the world and people admired him. None of that felt important anymore. He turned around and glanced at the small figure sitting on the floor in the living room, quietly playing with toy blocks. His son, Noah, was 5 years old. A gentle child with big blue eyes and curly brown hair that always seemed messy. He looked just like his mother. Ethan's heart tightened at the thought. 2 years had passed since his wife Rachel had died of cancer, but the pain still felt fresh, like a wound that refused to close. Since Rachel's death, Ethan had tried to keep everything together. He poured himself into his work, attending meetings, launching new products, traveling across continents, all to avoid facing the silence that had entered his home. He hired the best nannies, sent Noah to an expensive preschool, and made sure every material need was met. But love, time, and attention, the things Rachel had given so freely, those were missing. Noah rarely spoke unless asked a direct question. He smiled sometimes, but never laughed with his whole body the way children should. Ethan noticed it, but didn't know what to do. He felt like a guest in his own child's life. He didn't understand what games Noah liked, what stories he enjoyed, or what frightened him. There was a wall between them, built slowly over the last 2 years, brick by brick, with silence, distance, and guilt. One morning, Ethan's assistant reminded him that it was Father-Son Day on Noah's school calendar. Parents were encouraged to spend a few hours with their children doing something fun outside the house. Ethan's schedule was full: calls with investors, a board meeting, and a dinner event. But something inside him stirred. Looked at his son, sitting quietly again with his blocks, and made a decision. He canceled all his meetings and told the nanny to take the day off. Noah looked surprised when his father said, "We're going out today. Just you and me?" "Where?" Noah asked softly. Ethan paused. He hadn't thought that far. All the places he knew were 5-star restaurants, luxury clubs, or private resorts, not places where a child would feel comfortable. On impulse, he decided to take Noah somewhere ordinary, something different. A simple walk in Central Park and lunch in a small local diner. He Googled one that had good reviews and served kid-friendly meals. It's called Sunnyside Cafe. Just a 10-minute drive from their apartment. They arrived around noon. The diner was nothing like the places Ethan was used to. It was cozy and a little old-fashioned, with checkered tablecloths, handwritten menus, and the smell of fresh pancakes in the air. A bell rang as they entered, and a few heads turned to glance at the sharply dressed man with his little boy. In his designer coat and expensive watch, looked slightly out of place. But Noah looked at ease for once. A waitress came over with a warm smile. Her name tag read Lily. She had kind eyes and brown hair tied back in a ponytail. "Hey there. Table for 2?" she asked cheerfully. Ethan nodded, and she led them to a corner booth by the window. "I'll be right back with some water and a kid's menu," she said, winking at Noah. The little boy nodded shyly. They sat in silence for a while. Ethan picked up the menu, but Noah didn't look at his. He just stared out the window at the passing cars. Ethan cleared his throat. "Do you want pancakes? Or maybe grilled cheese?" Noah shrugged. "Anything's okay?" Ethan tried to smile, but it felt awkward. "You like chocolate milk, right?" Noah nodded. That was the end of the conversation. Lily returned with water, crayons, and a small coloring sheet shaped like a dinosaur. "Here you go, buddy. This guy needs some color. You think you can help him out?" she said playfully. Noah looked at her, then at the paper, and slowly picked up a crayon. "What's his name?" he asked. Lily knelt beside the table and smiled. It looks like a Jerry to me. Jerry the dinosaur." "What do you think?" Noah giggled. It was soft but real. Ethan raised his eyebrows slightly. That was the first sound of laughter he had heard from Noah in weeks. Lily got up and said, "I'll give you two a few minutes to decide. But if you want the chocolate chip pancakes, I highly recommend them." Ethan nodded politely, but his mind was elsewhere. That tiny moment between Noah and the waitress had surprised him. The child who barely spoke at home had just asked a question, smiled, and even giggled. A few minutes later, Lily returned to take their order. She spoke more to Noah than to Ethan, asking him what he liked, if he liked coloring, whether he wanted his pancakes in the shape of Mickey Mouse. Noah lit up, a little more each time. Ethan watched in silence, unsure of how to respond. He felt like an outsider watching two people who understood a language he didn't, just as their food arrived. Ethan's phone rang. It was a call from his chief operating officer. He hesitated, then said to Noah, "I'll be right outside. It's one quick call." Stepped out, leaving Noah at the booth with a plate of pancakes. As he spoke on the phone, giving instructions and approving numbers, he glanced through the glass window and saw something that made him pause. Lily had returned to the table. She crouched down beside Noah and was now crawling under the table. On all fours, she popped her head up suddenly, making a funny face. Noah burst into laughter, a real loud belly laugh. Lily pretended to be a dinosaur chasing him, and the little boy ducked under the table, squealing in delight. They played like that for a full minute before Lily sat back down beside him, both of them laughing together. Ethan stood frozen. His phone call faded into the background. He hadn't seen his son this happy in years, not even on his birthday, not even at Disneyland. And it wasn't a toy or a fancy gift that had done it. It was a waitress crawling on the floor and pretending to be a dinosaur. He ended the call quickly and walked back inside. Lily stood up and smiled. "We were just having a little fun. I hope that's okay." Ethan looked at her, then at Noah, and nodded slowly. "Yeah, ... of course." They ate their meal, and for the first time in a long time, Noah talked without being asked. He told his dad about Jerry the dinosaur, about how he liked drawing, and even about a dream he had last week, where he flew in the sky with his mom. Ethan listened quietly, something tugging at his heart, when the bill came. Ethan left a generous tip, but he also left something else behind, a thought that refused to leave his mind. Why did it take a stranger to bring out something in his son that he hadn't been able to reach? As they walked out of the diner, Noah held his father's hand tightly and said, "Can we come back here again?" Ethan looked down at his son, his eyes shining with hope and trust. For a moment, he didn't see a billionaire or a busy man or a broken widower. He saw a father. He whispered, "Yeah, buddy, we'll come back." And deep inside, something started to shift. The week after their first visit to the Sunnyside Cafe, something changed between Ethan and Noah. It wasn't something big or loud, but it was there. Like a quiet door had opened in their world. Ethan noticed that Noah seemed more cheerful than before. He hummed a song while brushing his teeth. He asked if they could draw together, even though Ethan didn't know how to draw anything more than a stick figure. And every night before bed, Noah would ask, "Can we go back to that pancake place?" Ethan had every reason to say no. His calendar was filled with meetings, project launches, dinners, and conferences. His time was scheduled down to the last minute. But every time he looked at Noah's hopeful eyes, he remembered the sound of his laugh in that little diner, and how Lily had made that possible. So one Saturday morning, without warning, Ethan said, "Put on your shoes, buddy. We're going to the pancake place." Noah lit up like a light bulb and ran to get ready. They walked into the cafe around 9:30 a.m. The bell above the door rang again, and this time a few customers smiled when they saw them. One old man at the counter whispered to the woman beside him, "That's the billionaire with the kid. He came in last week." Ellie noticed them the moment they entered. She was carrying a tray with empty plates, but she smiled so brightly that even Ethan felt a little warmer inside. "Back again already?" she asked. Noah nodded quickly. "Came to see Jerry the dinosaur." Lily laughed. "Jerry's been waiting for you, little man. He's gotten a haircut since you last saw him." Ethan chuckled without realizing it. Lily guided them to the same booth by the window. Your usual seat, she said with a wink. They ordered the same pancakes and chocolate milk, but this time Ethan didn't pick up his phone. Instead, he watched Noah color with the crayons Lily brought. She came back often to check on them, not just to ask about food, but to talk to Noah. She told him silly jokes, asked about his drawings, and told him about her daughter, Emma, who loved dinosaurs too. Noah listened carefully, sometimes asking questions, sometimes just smiling quietly. Ethan found himself watching her more than he expected. She moved quickly between tables, balancing plates and coffee cups, smiling at every customer as if she'd known them for years. Her uniform was simple, a white shirt and black apron, a little worn around the edges. She had tired eyes, but they sparkled every time she laughed. There was something about her that was real, like she didn't wear a mask the way most people in Ethan's world did. After they finished eating, Lily came over to clear the plates. Noah grabbed her wrist and said, "Can Jerry come out again?" She looked around the diner, which was busy with customers, and then leaned down to whisper, "Tell you what, if you promise not to tell the boss, I'll see what I can do." Knelt down beside the table and once again crawled under it. Ethan couldn't help but smile as he saw her pop out near Noah's feet, growling softly like a silly dinosaur. Noah giggled, then got down too. The two of them made tiny roaring sounds, and Lily used a napkin as a cape, pretending to be Jerry the super dino. The other customers didn't mind, in fact. Some smiled and shook their heads, clearly amused. By the scene, Ethan sat back and watched. It was such a small thing, a waitress crawling on the floor to play with a child. But it wasn't small to Noah, and it wasn't small to Ethan. This woman, a stranger, had made his son feel seen, loved, and happy in a way that Ethan had struggled to do for 2 years. After they left the cafe, Noah talked about Jerry the whole way home. He told Ethan he wanted to draw Jerry with Emma someday, even asked if they could bring her cookies when they visited next time. Ethan smiled and said, "Maybe we can." Over the next few weeks, they returned to the cafe regularly, sometimes on weekends, sometimes even on a weekday morning if Ethan could move things around. Lily was always there, always kind, always smiling, and always ready to crawl under a table if Noah asked. But something else started happening too. Ethan and Lily began to talk more. At first it was small talk, whether food, funny things Noah said. But one morning, when the cafe was quiet and Noah was coloring, Ethan asked, "How long have you worked here?" 3 years, she replied, wiping down the table beside them. "Started right after my divorce. Needed something steady. Not glamorous, but it pays the bills." Ethan nodded slowly. "You mentioned your daughter. Emma, right?" "Yeah," Lily said with a smile. "She's 7. Smart kid. Too smart for me sometimes. Is she in school nearby?" "Public school a few blocks from here," she said. "She likes it. Loves her science teacher. Wants to be a paleontologist because of dinosaurs?" "Yup." "It all started with a toy T-Rex from a garage sale?" Lily laughed. She named it Dr. Crunch. Ethan laughed too. He hadn't laughed like that in a while, a real, honest laugh. That came from somewhere deep. As the visits continued, Ethan started to open up more. One afternoon, while Noah played with some crayons, Ethan found himself telling Lily about Rachel. He didn't plan to. The words just slipped out. He told her how they met in college, how she had the loudest laugh in the room, and how cancer had taken her away slowly, painfully. Ellie listened without interrupting, without pity. Just quiet understanding. "I still feel like I'm failing him," Ethan said softly, looking at Noah. She was the one who knew how to talk to him, how to make him laugh. "I don't know what I'm doing." "You're trying," Lily said. Gently. "A lot of parents don't. But you are." And he sees that Ethan didn't reply right away. He just looked at his son, who was now humming and drawing a picture of Jerry the dinosaur flying over the moon. For the first time, Ethan didn't feel completely alone in the struggle. One Saturday, the cafe was unusually crowded. A big group had come in, and Lily was rushing from table to table. Noah and Ethan waited longer than usual, but Ethan didn't mind. He knew Lily was working hard. When she finally made it to their table, she looked tired, but still smiled. "Sorry for the wait, Jerry fans. Big birthday party just walked in. Do you want help? Ethan asked without thinking. Lily blinked. Help? Yeah, I don't know how to carry 5 plates at once, but I can pour water or bus tables. She laughed. That's very kind, but I don't think I can let a billionaire work for free. He raised an eyebrow. You know who I am? Of course, she said with a smile. Your face is all over the news and the internet. I just figured you didn't want to talk about it. He looked at her carefully. And you never asked. Didn't need to, she said. I care more about how you treat your kid than how much money you have. That hit Ethan hard. Not because it was rude, it wasn't. It was honest and true. In the world Ethan lived in, people only saw the number attached to his name. But Lily looked past it. She saw the man who was trying to be a better father. After they ate, Lily came over and handed Noah a small wrapped gift. Just a little. Something from Emma, she said. She drew Jerry the dinosaur too. Thought he might want a friend. Noah opened the package and gasped. Inside was a handmade drawing of 2 dinosaurs holding hands. One was clearly Jerry. The other had glasses and a pink bow. That's Dr. Crunch, Noah said excitedly. Tell her thank you. I will, Lily said, beaming. On the way home, Noah said, Daddy, I like her. Me too, Ethan replied, and he meant it. The visits to Sunnyside Cafe became a regular part of Ethan and Noah's life. What started as a one-time breakfast turned into a quiet routine. Ethan, the billionaire who once lived through his calendar and emails, was now making time every week just to eat pancakes with his son. But it wasn't really about the food. It was about something more, something soft, something healing. Every time they walked into the cafe, Noah's face would light up. He would rush to their usual booth and start looking for Lily. He knew. She would come with crayons, a coloring sheet, and probably a silly story about Jerry the dinosaur or her daughter Emma. Ethan would follow behind slowly, holding a small smile on his lips. These visits were no longer just for Noah, they were for him too. Lily always treated them the same. She didn't fuss over Ethan's status or ask him for anything. She talked to him like a normal person, like a father trying to do better, and not like a man with a famous name. That was refreshing. It made Ethan feel human again. It's not like a product of headlines and magazine covers. One Wednesday morning, Ethan rearranged his meetings and took Noah to the cafe again. It was quieter than usual, with only a few customers at the tables. Rain poured outside, tapping against the windows like soft drumming fingers. Noah pressed his nose to the glass and whispered, Jerry likes the rain. He says it reminds him of the jungle. Lily came over with a cup of warm cocoa for Noah and a regular coffee for Ethan. Hey there, adventurers. Looks like a rainy day is the perfect time for some indoor dinosaur exploring, she said cheerfully. Noah looked up. Kay, can we play Jungle Explorers under the table? Lily looked around. The cafe was empty enough. She smiled and nodded. Of course. But Jerry says you have to be very quiet or the jungle spiders will hear you. Noah giggled and slid under the table, pretending to crawl through a thick forest. Lily got down to making quiet whooshing noises with her mouth, pretending to cut through leaves with an invisible machete. Ethan watched, sipping his coffee, a soft smile playing on his lips. She wasn't just crawling on the floor. She was entering Noah's world, making him feel like he belonged somewhere, like he mattered. That was something Ethan couldn't ignore anymore. He'd tried so hard to give Noah everything, toys, tutors, clothes, gadgets, but none of it brought out the spark in him like Lily's silly dinosaur games. When they were done playing, Lily sat next to Noah and asked, So, what's Jerry afraid of? Noah thought hard. He's scared of being alone in the dark. Lily nodded seriously. That's a good thing to know. Maybe we can get him a flashlight. Ethan listened to that small exchange and felt something shift inside him. Lily asked the kind of questions he never thought to ask. Talked to Noah like a child. She talked to him like he was a whole person, and Noah responded. He opened up. He trusted her after their meal, while Noah was busy drawing. Ethan leaned toward Lily. Do you ever wonder if some people are just better at connecting with kids? She raised her eyebrows. You mean like teachers or parents? Like you? Ethan said softly. You make it look so easy. Lily smiled gently. It's not always easy, but I've had practice. When you're raising a kid on your own, you learn how to speak their language. You're a good listener, Ethan said. She shrugged. Sometimes kids just need someone who listens without trying to fix everything. Ethan looked down at his coffee. He wasn't sure if she was saying that for him or just speaking her mind. Either way, it made sense. He had always tried to fix things with money, plans, strategies. But some things weren't meant to be fixed. They were meant to be felt. That night, Ethan couldn't stop thinking about what Lily had said. He watched Noah sleep, curled up with his Jerry drawing beside him. He thought about Rachel, how she had once told him that children don't remember the gifts you give them. They always remember how you made them feel. Maybe Lily was the reminder he needed. A quiet voice telling him that being a father wasn't about doing everything right. It was about being present, being real. The next few times they visited the cafe, Ethan started doing things differently. He put his phone away completely. Ask Noah questions. Simple ones, but important. It's like what made him laugh the most, or what he dreamed about at night. At first, Noah didn't answer much, but slowly his words grew. He told Ethan about his dreams, about monsters that were friendly and clouds shaped like cookies. He told him that Jerry wanted to be friends with Dr. Crunch and maybe even build a spaceship together. Ethan didn't always understand these stories, but he listened, and that made all the difference. One Sunday, Lily invited them to a small local fair nearby. Emma and I are going, she said. There's a dinosaur bouncy house. I thought Jerry might enjoy it. Noah jumped up. Can we go, Daddy? Please. Ethan hesitated for a second. He had a long list of work emails waiting for him. But he looked at his son's hopeful face and nodded. Let's do it. The fair was small but lively, colorful. Booths, laughter, the smell of popcorn and cotton candy. Emma was waiting near the bouncy house, holding a toy T-Rex in one hand and a slushie in the other. She smiled brightly when she saw Noah. Hi, Jerry. Colt Noah grinned and ran over. The two kids disappeared into the dinosaur-shaped bouncy house, squealing and laughing. Ethan stood beside Lily, watching them. They're good together. He said they are, Lily agreed. Emma doesn't usually warm up to kids so quickly. Neither does Noah, Ethan replied. I think they both needed a friend. Lily looked at him and nodded. Don't we all? They sat on a bench near the ride, sipping lemonade. Ethan told Lily about how empty his house had felt since Rachel died. How he had tried to fill it with work, but it never worked. Lily told him about the nights she spent worrying about rent, about Emma's cough that wouldn't go away last winter, how sometimes she cried alone in the bathroom so Emma wouldn't see. There were no masks between them now. Just two parents trying their best. As the sun began to set, Emma and Noah returned, sweaty and happy. Noah held Emma's hand like they had been best friends forever. Lily packed up their things and said, Thanks for coming. Emma had a great time. We did too, Ethan replied. This was ... nice. She smiled. See you at the cafe, of course. That night, Noah drew a picture of the bouncy house with Jerry and Dr. Crunch flying over it in a hot air balloon. He handed it to Ethan and said, This is for you. Ethan blinked. For me? 'Cause you came? And you didn't look at your phone once. Ethan smiled, touched more deeply than he could say. He hung the drawing on the fridge, something he had never done before. Days passed, then weeks. The cafe visits continued. So did the games, the laughter, and the small but powerful lessons. Lily had become more than a waitress to Ethan. She had become a reminder of kindness, of presence, of how simple moments could be the most important. And slowly, Ethan changed. He started leaving the office earlier. He began reading bedtime stories to Noah. He even signed up for a father-son art class, where his stick figures were still terrible, but his heart was full. He didn't say it out loud, but he knew it deep inside. Lily had helped him become a better father, and somehow, without meaning to, she had begun to change his life. It was a cold Thursday evening when Ethan noticed something was wrong. Noah had come home from school looking tired and quiet, even more than usual. He didn't want to eat dinner, didn't ask for a bedtime story, and didn't even mention Jerry, the dinosaur. Ethan gently touched his son's forehead and felt the heat rising off his skin. His heart tightened. By midnight, Noah was burning with fever, tossing and turning in his bed, mumbling in his sleep. Ethan called the family doctor immediately. After a quick visit, the doctor recommended they go to the hospital. His breathing sounds tight, he said. Could be pneumonia. Yeah, better to be safe. Ethan didn't hesitate, picked up Noah, wrapped him in a blanket, and rushed to the hospital. His hands trembled on the steering wheel. Inside the emergency room, nurses moved quickly. They placed a small oxygen mask over Noah's face, took blood samples, and checked his chest with a stethoscope. Ethan stood helplessly by, watching his son's tiny body struggle. The hours passed slowly. Noah was admitted and given fluids and antibiotics. The doctors said he would need to stay for a few days. Ethan stayed by his bedside, barely blinking. He didn't leave to eat, didn't answer any business calls, and turned off his phone completely. Nothing else mattered. He sat in the chair beside the hospital bed, his elbows on his knees, hands pressed together in silent prayer. He had all the money in the world, but at that moment, he would have traded every dollar just to see his son smile again. His mind was flooded with guilt. Had he not noticed the symptoms earlier? Had he been too busy? Too slow? Noah slept, his breathing shallow. The hospital room was quiet, the machines around him beeping softly. Outside, the city continued moving, but Ethan's world had stopped. The next day, Ethan sat silently in the same chair, unshaven and tired. Nurses came and went. A soft knock came on the door and he looked up. To his surprise, Lily was standing there. She wore a gray sweater, jeans, and had a small plastic bag in her hand. "Hi," she said softly. "I heard from Emma's school that Noah was sick. I thought maybe I could stop by." Ethan stood up slowly. He looked like he hadn't slept at all. "You didn't have to come." "I know," Lily said, stepping inside. "But I wanted to, and I brought something." She handed him the bag. Inside was a small container of homemade soup and a folded piece of paper. Ethan looked at her, then opened the paper. It was a drawing from Emma Jerry, the dinosaur holding a sign that said, "Get well soon, Noah." Ethan smiled, his eyes glassy. "Thank you. Really." She walked over to Noah's bed and gently touched his hand. "Hey, little explorer," she whispered. "The jungle's waiting for you." Noah didn't respond, but he stirred slightly, like he could hear her even in sleep. Lily pulled up a chair next to Ethan. They sat in silence for a while. The kind of silence that didn't need to be filled. Ethan finally spoke. "It's scary. I've never felt this kind of fear before." Lily nodded. "It's part of being a parent. The fear never fully goes away." He looked at her. "How do you deal with it?" "I take it one day at a time," she said. "Sometimes 1 hour at a time. Some nights I cry after Emma falls, asleep. Some mornings I smile, even when I don't feel like it. But I always show up because she needs me." Ethan looked down at his hands. "I spent so long hiding behind my work, pretending everything was fine. But when I see him like this, I feel like I've failed." "You haven't," Lily said firmly. "You're here. That matters more than you think." He didn't reply, but her words sank deep into his heart. For hours, she stayed beside him. Sometimes they talked. Sometimes they sat in silence. She made sure he ate the soup, even though he said he wasn't hungry. She told him funny stories about Emma, and even shared how she once accidentally sent her daughter to school in mismatched shoes. Ethan chuckled softly. The sound felt strange after so much worry. That night, Noah finally opened his eyes a little. He looked around slowly and whispered, "Daddy." Ethan rushed to his side. "I'm here, buddy." "Where's Jerry?" Noah asked weakly. Ethan smiled, holding his son's hand. "He's right here." "What?" And he says, "You're the bravest explorer he's ever met." Noah's lips curled into the tiniest smile. Ethan brushed his fingers through Noah's hair. Overwhelmed by love and relief, Lily stood quietly in the corner, watching the moment. She smiled too, then turned to leave, not wanting to interrupt. Ethan noticed and called out, "Wait, don't go." She turned around. I just thought I'd give you both some space. No, Ethan said gently. You helped me breathe. Today, she walked back in, sat beside him again, and for the first time, he reached for her hand. It was warm and steady. They sat like that until the early hours of the morning. Two people holding on to something fragile and beautiful hope. Over the next 2 days, Noah slowly began to improve. His color returned. His voice grew stronger. He even asked for chocolate, milk, which made the nurse smile. Ethan barely left his side. Lily continued to visit. She brought crossword puzzles, small toys, and even snuck in a plastic dinosaur she found at the dollar store. Noah lit up when he saw her. Jerry's cousin, he said, naming the toy Spike.
Oh, Lily laughed. Yep.
Here to protect you until you're strong again. Ethan watched as Noah and Lily played with the toy on the bed. His heart felt full yet soft. Something in him had changed. He was no longer the man who avoided feelings. He was no longer the father who didn't know his son. One morning, while Noah was napping, Ethan and Lily stood by the window, looking out at the city. The hospital was quiet. Snow had started to fall, covering rooftops in soft white, you know? Ethan said quietly, I used to think love was about grand gestures, roses, diamonds, luxury. But the last few days, I realized love is soup in a plastic container. It's staying up all night just to sit in silence. It's crawling under a table just to make a kid laugh. Lily looked at him, her eyes shining. Sometimes the little things are the biggest things. He nodded. You've taught me more in these few weeks than anyone else has in years. She looked away for a moment, then back at him. I didn't do much. You did everything. There was a long pause. Ethan reached into his coat pocket and pulled out his phone. He had turned it back on only that morning, and it was full of messages and missed calls. But one email caught his eye. It was from his company's board, reminding him of a major event coming up. A product launch, one that would be broadcasted worldwide. He stared at the screen for a moment. Then he locked it and placed it back in his pocket. I'm not going, he said softly. Lily raised her eyebrows. Are you sure? Yeah, he said. I don't want to miss the important stuff anymore. That night, as the snow continued to fall, Ethan sat beside Noah, holding his hand. Lily sat on the other side, reading a book out loud in a soft voice. The hospital room, once filled with worry and fear, now felt like the safest place in the world. Noah drifted off to sleep with Spike tucked under his arm, and a smile on his lips. Ethan whispered, Thank you, Lily. She looked at him gently. Anytime. And in that quiet moment, without saying the words, something deep passed between them, something more than friendship, more than kindness. It was connection. It was healing. It was the beginning of something new. The days after Noah's recovery brought a new kind of calm into Ethan's life. The fear that had once held him captive began to fade, replaced by a quiet hope and a sense of purpose he hadn't felt in years. Noah was stronger, laughing more, and talking about adventures with Jerry the dinosaur as if the illness had never happened. For Ethan, the moment was more than relief, it was a turning point. Ethan realized that life could no longer be about business deals and deadlines alone. His time with Noah had taught him the true meaning of presence, being there in the moment, fully and without distraction. The lessons came slowly, but they were powerful. One morning, as sunlight filtered through the curtains, Ethan made a promise to himself. No matter how busy life got, he would never miss another moment like this. The bond between Ethan and Noah grew stronger every day. They explored the world through books and simple games. Ethan began learning to slow down, letting go of his rigid schedule, stopped answering calls during their time together. Instead, he focused on building memories, throwing paper airplanes across the living room, baking cookies that always turned out lopsided but delicious, and even painting with Noah. Laughing at their messy hands and colorful disasters, Lily remained a steady presence in their lives. Their friendship, born in a quiet cafe and strengthened through hospital nights and shared laughter, blossomed naturally. She brought warmth and light to their home, filling it with stories about Emma and her own struggles, reminding Ethan that Every family has its challenges, but love is the answer. One afternoon, Ethan found himself at the cafe again with Noah and Lily. They sat together, drinking hot chocolate, watching as the world outside moved fast and loud. But inside their little corner, time seemed to slow. Noah was showing Emma how to draw dinosaurs, while Ethan and Lily talked quietly about life, hope, and second chances. Ethan realized something important: he didn't have to do this alone. He could lean on others, build a family not just by blood, but by love and trust. Lily was no longer just a friend or helper. She was part of their story. Months passed. Ethan began inviting Lily and Emma over for dinners. They celebrated birthdays and holidays together. The house, once quiet and empty, now echoed with laughter, the sound of children playing, and the warmth of shared moments. Ethan's business life also changed. He found balance, delegating more and focusing on what truly mattered. His company supported causes that helped families and children. Inspired by his journey with Noah, he spoke openly about fatherhood in interviews, encouraging other fathers to be present, to love deeply, and to cherish the small moments. One evening, as the three of them sat by the fireplace, Ethan took Noah on his lap and whispered, "You're my greatest adventure, kiddo." Noah smiled, looking up at Lily, who was watching them with tears in her eyes. "And you're our hero, Daddy," he said. Ethan hugged them both, feeling full in a way no money could ever buy. In the end, Ethan understood that the true treasure wasn't success or wealth, connection, and being there for the people who matter most. His story was no longer about what he owned or achieved, but about the family he built, the memories he made, and the courage to open his heart. And as the days turned into years, that courage carried them all forward together, stronger and ready for whatever adventures life would bring next.